Okay, today's lesson is 3-1, lines and angles. You are going to identify parallel, perpendicular, and skew lines, and also identify the angles formed by two lines in a transversal. A lot of vocabulary words for this lesson. Please make sure that you have these vocabulary words in your notes, either with me in the PowerPoint or from your book copied into your notes. So let's get started. This chart is in your book on page 146, and it just gives us some definitions and a figure here to show you some parallel lines, perpendicular lines, skew lines, and parallel planes. So let's start with parallel lines. Parallel lines are coplanar. They lie in the same plane and they do not intersect. So in our figure here to the right, we have line AB is parallel to line EF. So let me highlight those for you, AB and EF. They are in the same plane. They're on the top of the box. The way that we know they are parallel is they are marked parallel with this little arrow symbol. That red arrow symbol on two lines tells me that they are for sure parallel. Now, sometimes they may look parallel, but if the problem doesn't state that as a given that they are parallel, or they are not marked parallel with some arrows, then you sometimes cannot assume that they are parallel. Another set of parallel lines in this figure is line EG and line FH. So those are the parallel lines that are clearly marked. Notice the new set that I've marked in green has two arrows designated separately from the single arrow. So the single arrows are parallel to each other, the double arrows are parallel to each other. Perpendicular lines, let me erase this so we have a fresh start here. Perpendicular lines, those lines join together, they intersect at 90 degrees, and that is usually marked with this box in the corner of the lines. So that's marking two lines that are perpendicular, and up here on the top of the box at A is another marking of two lines that are perpendicular. So we have line AB here in the back of the box on top, perpendicular to AE. And then again we have line EG here in the front of the box, perpendicular to the bottom here, GH. So those are our perpendicular lines that are clearly marked on our figure. Now, skew lines are not coplanar, and they do not, and they're not parallel, and they do not intersect. So what do skew lines look like? Let me mark in the figure AB. So here's line AB. That is skew with line EG. EG. They are not coplanar, they will never intersect, and they are not parallel. So those are a set of skew lines. Now, I'll erase that. We have another term here, parallel planes are planes that do not intersect. So in our figure, plane ABE, so this plane ABE, the top of the box here, is parallel to the bottom of the box. They call it CDG. I don't see a D in the figure here, so I think they made a mistake on the slide here. I don't see a D. The bottom of the box, CGW, CGH, something like that. The bottom of the box is parallel to the top of the box. All right. Now, segments or rays are parallel, perpendicular, or skew if the lines that contain them are parallel, perpendicular, or skew. So parts of lines can be parallel, perpendicular, or skew. So here we go. We have a figure to the right here. Looks like a box to me, and it's marked with some parallel lines, some perpendicular lines. And we need to name a pair of parallel segments. So these are not lines, these are segments. They end. and we need to name a pair of parallel segments. Well, there's quite a few of them, and they are marked on your figure. You could take any of the vertical lines here and name a couple of those. These two in the front, these two on the side, there's one in the back corner, the ones on the top, the bottom, they are marked with a double. So there's many. Here's one set. BF is parallel to EJ. So normally on a figure like this, you want to pick the easiest one that's clearly marked, but you can pick many others. A pair of skew segments. A pair of skew segments. Let me erase that highlighting there. Now, a pair of skew segments, they are not coplanar, and they do not intersect, and they are not parallel. So we have BF here. BF here in the front is skew with DE here on the side. Now there's other sets. That's just one. These two line segments are not parallel. They are not coplanar, and they will not intersect. They do not intersect. A pair of perpendicular segments in the front here, we have that clearly marked here in the corner. Now, to be on the safe side, I would always choose the line segments or lines that are clearly marked perpendicular and or in parallel, as in letter A up here. So BF is marked perpendicular to FJ. Now, there are a lot of other line segments that look perpendicular, but they are not marked. So just to be on the safe side, always pick ones that are clearly marked perpendicular. And a pair of parallel planes. You could pick the top of the box and the bottom of the box. You could pick two sides of the box. And so on this answer, they have picked plane F, J, H. So that's the bottom of the box here, the bottom of the box. And it's parallel to the top of the box, B, C, D. Okay, moving on. Now, here's where we get to the really fun stuff. We're going to talk about lines and a transversal and angles that come from those lines and transversals. So first of all, a transversal is a line that intersects two coplanar lines at two different points. So in our figure to the right here, we have transversal T, and this is intersecting two other lines, R and S, at two different points. Now, when this transversal crosses those two lines, it forms 8 angles, and those angles have special relationships with each other. So one of the relationship is corresponding angles. Corresponding angles, let me erase this so I can highlight a few things. Corresponding angles lie on the same side of the transversal T and on the same sides of lines R and S. They're in the same spot. They correspond. So corresponding angles, here's one set that they've marked, 1 and 5. They're both to the left of the transversal, and they're both above the other two lines. Now, there are other corresponding angles that you could mark. 2 and 6 are corresponding to each other. 4 and 8 are corresponding to each other, and 3 and 7. So you might want to add all of the corresponding angles along with this figure in your notes, just so you're getting a feel for what the names of these special angles are, because you're going to need to know them. So along with angle 5 and angle 1, angle 2 and angle 6 are corresponding to each other. Angle 4 and angle 8 are corresponding. Also, angle 3 and angle 7. So if you can fit those in with your notes, those are all pairs of corresponding angles. Next, we have alternate interior angles. Let me erase my corresponding angles, and I'll mark the alternate interior. Now, alternate means that they are on opposite sides of the transversal. Interior means they are inside. So we have angle 3 and angle 6 as alternate interior angles. And I bet you figured out that angle 4 and angle 5 are alternate interior angles also. Then we have something called alternate exterior angles, and that means they are on opposite sides of the transversal, but they are outside those lines R and S. So one example is angle 1 and angle 8. They are alternate exterior angles, and you've probably figured out the other pair is angle 2 and angle 7. Those are alternate exterior angles. And then we have our same side interior angles. Another name that you might hear them called is consecutive interior angles. Same side interior angles or consecutive interior angles. They lie on the same side of the transversal and inside the lines R and S in the interior. So we have angle 3 and angle 4, and you betcha the other pair of those is angle 4 and angle 6. So we need to give an example of each angle pair. Just one example. There's more than one, but just in this case we want one. So here's your transversal. It's not marked, it's not labeled as to what the name of the line is, but this is the transversal because it intersects two other lines. So we call that the transversal. Corresponding angles. So we want the angles that are on the same side of the transversal and in the same place in reference to the other two lines. So angle 1 and angle 5 are corresponding. Angle 4 and angle 8 are corresponding. 2 and 6 and 3 and 7. Let's see which ones did they write. 1 and 5. Good. The ones I highlighted. How convenient. All right, next we are looking for alternate interior angles. So these are on opposite sides of the transversal. Let me highlight that transversal again. Opposite sides of the transversal and inside the lines. So it's got to be either 4 and 6 or 3 and 5. What do they pick? 3 and 5. So alternate interior, they're inside the two lines and they're on opposite sides of the transversal. Alternate exterior angles then would be either 1 and 7 or 2 and 8. What do they pick? 1 and 7. So they pick this angle here, angle 1, and angle 7. They're exterior, they're outside those lines, and they're alternate on opposite sides of the transversal. And same side interior angles. Well, that would have to be 4 and 5 or 3 and 6. What do they pick? 3 and 6. Okay, so those are examples. Here is another set, but it's drawn in a different way. So I think I'm going to whip right through this very quickly, but I wanted just to let you know that sometimes the transversal will go horizontally, sometimes it will go vertically. So if you need to, you kind of turn your head to the side to see what are the corresponding angles. So an A corresponding would be 1 and 3. Alternate interior angles would either be 2 or 7 or 3 or 6. Alternate exterior would be 1 and 8 or 5 and 4. And the same side interior would have to be 2 and 3 or 6 and 7. So on your homework, you are probably going to have multiple choices for answers or multiple different answers that will be okay. So to determine which line is the transversal for a given angle pair, locate the line that connects the vertices. Let's see here. So in this problem, this is a little different because we have two lines intersecting. We have three lines intersecting. So we have to identify the transversal and classify each angle pair. So we have angle 3 and angle 1. So we first have to decide which line is the transversal. Well, the transversal, just like in the last slide, the transversal is the line that connects the vertices of the angles. So in this figure, it's going to have to be for A, for number A or letter A, it's going to have to be line L. That's the transversal. Because here's the vertice of angle 1, and here's the vertice of angle 3. So that has to be the transversal for this problem. And so those are on the same side of the transversal. They are in corresponding positions. So they are corresponding angles, and the transversal is L. Now let's look at the next problem. It says angle 2 and angle 6. Let me mark those. We got angle 2 and angle 6. Well, the vertices of those angles is the corner right here and the corner right here. Which line contains those vertices? Well, line N is the transversal. So part of the problem is to identify the transversal. You're going to see this on your homework too. What types of angles are 2 and 6? They're on the alternate side of the transversal, but they are inside the other two lines. See, this is the inside, interior. So they are alternate interior angles, and the transversal is in. And last but not least, let me erase this mess that I made here. And we have angle 4 and angle 6. Let me mark those. Angle 4 and angle 6. So the transversal for that one is going to have to be, here's the vertice and the vertice for that angle. So the line that connects them is this line here. Line M is the transversal. Now these are outside the two other lines. So that's exterior, and they're on opposite sides of the transversal. So they are alternate exterior angles. And the transversal is M, like we said. Moving on. Now, this is just one question. Identify the transversal and classify the angle pair, angle 2 and angle 5, in the diagram. Identify the transversal and classify the angle pair, angle 2 and angle 5. Well, if we highlight the angle here, angle 2 and angle 5, the transversal that connects the vertices of those angles is line N. The transversal is line N. And what type of angles are those? They are on the same side of the transversal, and they are inside, so we're going to have to call those same side interior angles. And the transversal is N. All right, now some examples from your book. I'm not going to draw all of these. You're going to have to open your book with me to page 148. Actually, page 149 is where it starts, number 15. And look at that box at the top there. This is a different type of box. It is a triangular prism. And we have some lines that are marked parallel. And number 15 asks us to find one pair of skew segments. Now, there's more than one pair. But the one that I am going to write is line segment AB. So do you see on the top of the box there, kind of in the back, you see line segment AB. And when it asks for a pair of skew segments, please mark it as segments. And what would another segment be that is skewed to AB? Well, we could put CF. So line segment CF. So line segment AB and CF are skew. And I hope that you're looking at the figure in the book there and looking as I'm going along, because I don't want to take the time to draw that. So hopefully you're looking with me. Number 19. These directions say, give an example of each angle pair. So once again, you only have to do one. There's usually more than one, so you may have a different answer than I have on the solution here. Number 19 says alternate exterior angles. So I am going to sketch these real quick because it's not going to take me long to do this. And I want a pair. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I want a pair of alternate exterior angles. Well, here's your transversal, the one going through the two other. Alternate exterior. Well, I could pick angle 1 and angle 8. Those are alternate exterior. So all I write on my answer page is angle 1 and angle 8. So you have some of these to do for your homework, and this is how you do them. Just name the angles. Number 23 is the next one. So we have a different picture here. I'm going to sketch this one real quickly. We have these two lines intersecting, and these two lines intersecting. And this one's L, this one's M. Some arrows on the end here. You guys are much neater than I am. We've got angle 1 up here, angle 2. Here's angle 3, 4, and 5. And I want to identify the transversal and classify each angle pair. Well, in number 23, they've picked angle 4 and angle 5. So here's angle 4 and here's angle 5. Can you see the transversal here that connects the vertices? That's line Q. So part of my answer is the transversal. That would be line Q, the transversal. And the types of angles that 4 and 5 are, is they are interior and they are on opposite sides of the transversal. So we call those types of angles alternate, and you can abbreviate alternate interior angles. Alternate interior angles. Number 37, I think this is the last one. Number 37 says, name a pair of corresponding angles with transversal M. So look at the figure in your book to the right there. I won't take the time to draw it. See the transversal M. Name a pair of corresponding angles with transversal M. So I'm looking for two angles that are in the same place in reference to the transversal M and on the same side of the lines L and N. So I don't have many choices here. For this one, I'm going to pick angle 1 and angle 5 because they are both to the left of transversal M and they are above N and L. So I'm going to pick angle 1 and angle 5. Maybe you could think of another one, and there is another one there, but I'm going to pick angle 1 and angle 5. That's a pair of corresponding angles with transversal M. Okay, that's it, and we'll see you tomorrow in class.